So in talking about this nonfiction literature sphere, you did mention memoirs in your memoir class. Could you go into that class again, what you explore and what do you kind of go through with students in exploring the topic of the memoir?
In some ways, the memoir class is similar to the narrative journalism class in that we read great examples of the genre, discuss them in class, and then students do their own versions of that genre. Memoir is very different because it is so much more I focused, of course, on the person. At the same time, probably one of the most important things that we go over in class and talk about a lot is that a memoir really isn't about the person. It's about some broader theme. So their experiences are the story, but those experiences are illustrating some larger story, larger theme. And for students, I think it's actually a real relief to hear that, because it's like, oh, my what may feel like my small life doesn't have to actually be so big and so important, but I can take an experience I've had, and by telling it with real detail and clarity and originality, it can stand in for bigger experiences, and it can speak to other people and the kinds of experiences that they have. I had a few colleagues early on who said, well, I think colleagues understood, friends, let's say, who were like, what does a college student have to write a memoir about? And so much, I'm not even, kidding with that. So, so much. And one reason I keep the class limited mostly to seniors and juniors is I do think there's a difference. I think those 4 years of college are an incredible learning period, and that students as seniors, and also as they're heading out of college, they're already in a reflective mode. So it's a really good time for looking back and thinking about experiences they've had in just in a more thoughtful way. And that's the kind of writing that they bring to the class. It's a very small class, typically about 10 students. And that seems important for confidentiality and for comfort, and just, I think, creating the kind of safe space that we want so that students will be willing to share things. In a memoir class, I think that being vulnerable is probably one of the greatest assets that students can bring to their writing. And that doesn't mean you have to spill all kinds of secrets or anything like that, but it's the ability to look at yourself honestly and then write with vulnerability about your experiences. And that's where I think the best memoirs come to life. I don't tend to like memoirs written by famous people. I mean, they're interesting in their own way, but to me, they're not proper memoirs. They're more, look at this cool thing I did. And they're politicians, or they're people who are very carefully guarding their public images. And that's not something I'm so interested in. I'm interested in someone who can describe their life in a way that will, strike home with me, or give me some kind of an insight, or show me, oh, look, this person went through this and this is what they figured out from it. I think that's where memoirs really shine.
I did kind of want to loop back, talking about the first year seminars. You are the head of the first year seminar program. So I kind of wanted your thoughts on what are kind of the RC's goals in students growing as writers and interacting with professors and getting introduced to the RC? And also, what is so special about the RC's first year seminars compared to your normal, but still great English classes that LSNA still offers?
When the RC first started doing first year seminars, I think our approach of combining content with writing was unusual at the university. And I think that in the years since then, the first year writing courses at LSA resemble the courses at the RC more closely than they used to, which we take as a compliment. But they're still very different. In the RC first year seminar courses, it's all RC students, first of all. It's often usually taken the first semester at the RC. And it's not only an opportunity for students to become better writers, but it's their first chance really to be in a class with this other group of RC students who are hopefully interested in the same topic, and with a professor who really cares about what they're teaching. Some people have referred to it as a kind of a homeroom, which my homeroom experiences in high school weren't always good. So I'm not sure that's the best comparison, but I think that in terms of being a place that students come to regularly every week with a group of people that they can get along with, and where they can ask questions without being judged. Those are all the kinds of goals we have. I think as faculty, we want to be a resource for students so that we can help answer questions they might have, not just about our topic and about the RC, but their experience at the university. We've got lots of great resources at the RC. And so part of our job, sort of a side job, I think, is to reach out and let students know we're here, let them know that we can help with a lot of different issues and make them more successful at the university.
Yeah, and I'll just say, to kind of tag on to that, that the first year seminars are kind of the RC students' first introductions to the RC as a whole. And with the professors that do teach the class, you'll often find that like they are kind of like the people that you go back to as kind of those like, like those anchoring points about like you feel like at home with them. So yeah, it's kind of magical, I guess, what the RC does in that regard.
Absolutely. I'm still in touch with a student in the very first year seminar that I taught back in 2008. And he's still in touch with some of his fellow students. I mean, it is a situation where people truly make lifelong friends often. And I think that's partly because of the small classes, the seminar format. We do a lot of peer review in the classes, so students get to know and trust each other from having their peers read their work carefully and give them really helpful comments on it. I mean, some of the student editors in these classes are just formidable. They'll come up with ideas I didn't have. Sometimes I think, okay, why don't you just take over the next class, because they are so sharp about their ideas, so creative. And I think giving students that kind of independence and control is really important, and it's something that happens a lot in our classes. One other thing I would say is that pretty much all of the first year seminar faculty meet individually with students over the course of the semester more than once. And, that's again, partly so we can get to know them better and just to have closer relationships. But I think you end up with again, more comfort, more familiarity, better ability to work together. And then again, that idea of being an ongoing resource and connection for students. I'm also an academic advisor, and my first year seminar students then come to me for advising throughout their time at the university. And it's a wonderful way to stay connected and stay in touch.
Now, I did want to touch on another class, the creative writing tutorials that the RC offers for the creative writing program. Could you, I guess, explain what a creative writing tutorial is and what students should expect if they were to be taking one of these classes?
Yeah, so creative writing tutorials are really fantastic, and they are a very special thing at the RC. I did creative writing tutorials when I was a student, and that was, again, another thing that really pulled me into the writing program. Once you've made a connection with a faculty member, or likely through taking narration or another beginning creative writing course, or even maybe someone's in a first year seminar would like to continue with their writing, a tutorial is a great way to go forward. And it is a one-on-one meeting with a faculty member where you get together every week, usually for about 20 minutes. And they're student driven. So typically the faculty member doesn't say, now for next week, I want you to do X. And, instead it's like, I want to work on a short story, or I want to do a series of creative nonfiction essays. So it's like, fantastic, I'd love to work with you. And then students do a series of original work and rewrites through the course of the semester. So for example, when I do a creative writing tutorial, I'll often have them come in, do an initial work, maybe the next week they also do something new. And then it starts being, the next week might be a rewrite. So there's always going to be a lot of back and forth and rewriting. I haven't mentioned rewriting. Rewriting is absolutely at the core of all of my classes. And typically students will rewrite the major assignments twice at least. First time after peer edits, second time after I've edited it, and then one more time for good measure, because I want them to get it really right. But this is, again, so no different in tutorials. And I think this is one of the things that's so important, because a lot of students feel like they were never pushed either to complete things or to improve them. So they do something, they feel pretty good about it, and then they throw it aside. And that's not how it works in these classes. You really get important feedback and keep working on it and making it better. And here again, students are often just remarkable. I'll give them some feedback and they will run with it in a direction I never even had considered. And that's when it's really a pleasure to see how much students can do and accomplish on their own with just a little bit of feedback and nudging.
All right. Well, Susan, thank you so much. This has been a lovely conversation. I very much enjoyed it. And thank you so much for giving your time, for being here today.
No, thanks. I love talking about the RC. It really is a remarkable place. And I, again, feel so lucky to be a part of it again.